Oh, what a fantastic day we're having here on the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here. We've got Jeff Wilson there, and way over there, we also have the great Jared Sandler, our buddy. Cat's taking care of all the technical stuff and tying this all together for us. It's a holiday week. The Rangers are moving in a very positive direction, for sure, offensively. Jared, I don't know about you, but after yesterday, I kind of was in mourning about Marcus Semien still, right? Because we really like him. By today, I wake up feeling more positive about, okay, look, this is a new beginning, a fresh start. Let's go.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because this is, he's a part of the only World Series team in franchise history. So it's not like fans have a lot of experience with parting ways with, World Series contributors. And in a span of 72 hours, 4 guys who played pivotal roles in the World Series are gone. Jonah Heim, Adolis Garcia, and Josh Sborz non-tendered. And maybe Josh Sborz comes back. I think I'd be surprised if Jonah Heim or Adolis came back, though all 3 are free agents, so they're free to do whatever they'd like. And then the Marcus Semien trade. So, and Marcus, I think, and based on social media, I don't think fans are missing this by any means. And I hope that it's never lost on fans the credit that I think he deserves, because he came over with Corey Seager, and I think Marcus might have been announced first, but I don't know which one was agreed to first, like before it became public, and how much of it was, okay, Marcus is on board, I'll be on board type of thing. But I do remember when the Rangers signed Marcus Semien, and Chris Young mentioned this, they were coming off a 100-loss season, and it's not easy to get guys who care about winning to come to your team fresh off a 100-loss season, right? We're not talking about like an 88-loss season or a 92. It is not easy to lose 100 games. He came over, and I thought it added instant credibility to what the Rangers were trying to do. And in 2023, he was one of the best players in baseball. And unfortunately, offensively, he hasn't had that type of production the last 2 years. And so I think that's what led to a move like this being possible, if not likely. And I think now that the move's been made, it starts that domino effect of the flurry of moves. I think the Rangers are going to probably have to make this offseason to be able to compete in 2026.
And now the dicey part of our show, Jeff. How's your microphone?
I mean, this whole thing's a damn train wreck.
I thought the dicey part of the show was just Jeff, not the microphone. I thought you were just going to leave it the dicey part of the show, Jeff.
I could stop there every day, couldn't I? Yeah,
I've been doing this 2 straight days, and exact same thing, different room. So maybe it's a different room.
So it's the room. It's the room's fault.
It has.
Or is Jen there? You could just blame her.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Believe me.
Okay. Well, you could. I mean, she's not.
Hey,
right?
I know who. Where the bacon comes in.
All right. Who rules the roost around there?
This room, her desk. So maybe.
Yeah, I think that's it. And you mentioned, exactly what Jared had just said yesterday, reminding us all that, if it weren't for Shohei Ohtani, being a year away from leaving the American League, Marcus Semien would have been second in the MVP voting in 2023, to Jared's point about him being one of the best players in baseball that year.
Yeah, and it helped that he hit it in front of the actual runner-up, Corey Seager. But Marcus was getting on base and doing great things. And, the playoffs came around, and he struggled a little bit until the last 2 games of the playoffs when he, had the big hits in Game 4 against the Diamondbacks, and then hit the home run that was the crushing blow and made everybody realize, holy crap, the Rangers are going to win the World Series. Yeah. And you never will lose track of that, never lose sight of that if you're a Rangers fan. But, it's a what have you done for me lately business. in the last 2 years, he and Adolis and Heim have been one third of the problem. There's a couple other pieces in there too that haven't been great, but Chris Young, I asked him yesterday, how do you separate the emotions from the business? And he has a job, he has a boss, he has to win games, and they feel like with Skip Schumacher, a different kind of player would be better than those three. And they filled one of them with Nimmo, but they still have some work to do.
Yeah, they do. And speaking of Brandon, a couple of interesting things that we didn't get to yesterday, and Jared, you may have put this out on your streams or social media, but he did not play high school baseball.
That was interesting. That was Jared's question.
Yeah. Was it? They don't have high school baseball in Wyoming. Jared, he played what, American Legion ball?
Yeah, and so my very first minor league baseball job was in Great Falls, Montana, and I think this has since changed in Great Falls, but at one point, or in Montana, at one point, I think Montana, South Dakota, and Wyoming were the only three states that did not offer high school baseball. So if you were a baseball player, you would play American Legion. Now I think it's just South Dakota and Wyoming. Brandon Nimmo's from Wyoming, and so I always found that fascinating. And the American Legion scene is such in those states, I would imagine, if it's the same as it was in Montana, where, you can get some pretty competitive baseball. It also can be a little wheels off, like you have some weird matchups because it's not, quite an organized high school scene, and it's maybe not your super competitive travel scene, which, you get both of in a lot of states, including, in Texas. So I was just curious what that experience was like. And I'm also kind of fascinated by guys who emerge as baseball players from non-warm climate states or states, where you're not able to play year round. And I loved his answer. He said, I think it's great that I didn't even have the opportunity to play year round because of the weather. And I'm a big believer with, my athletic career, which stopped well short of the professional ranks, but I do think that, a lot of these guys who play multiple sports, it's beneficial. And I think he had that experience in Wyoming, but yeah, not having high school baseball or like as established of a travel club scene as you have most of, throughout America. I just thought it was interesting that he's become the player he's become from that sort of a background.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to him about it because I'm from Denver. I grew up, 90 minutes from Cheyenne, and Roy Halladay was at my high school, as I've brag about every opportunity I get, and he played high school basketball with my two best friends, and I think for Roy it was like another way to work out because they said that nobody practiced harder, and he got a lot out of the basketball. And the Maddox brothers are huge believers in play other sports, be athletic. You'll run into hitting coaches even today who are like, we ask these kids to do something and they don't know the muscle movement because they've just been a one sport guy. They aren't really athletic enough or have the pedigree from another sport to move their body a certain way. And so this Nimmo stuff was really intriguing. I'm glad you asked it. And then I had a thought too, Jared. This guy's Travis Jankowski 2.0. How nice was he? You could ask him one question, and like 15 minutes later, he might have been ready to move on to the next question. But it was wonderful. What a nice guy.
His first answer, I think Sean asked about to walk us through the process of the trade, and he took it all the way back to Thursday. It became public, not official, but public on Sunday. But because of the no trade clause, he had a few days to kind of mull whether or not he wanted to waive that. But that was a 9.5-minute answer. And I don't say that like as a knock on him, but he's like, he cared about giving us exactly what was going on. And he gave another really thoughtful answer when someone asked him, it might have been you, Jeff, about playing right field. And he talked about getting reps in spring training, but it's not just about him being comfortable and right. It's about the other outfielders being comfortable where they're going to end up, right? So if I'm in right and why, and I just thought that was a really thoughtful answer. And I think it speaks to a lot of what, I had heard after the trade became public. from people that, this is a guy who he cares about winning, he cares about people. And I think those two things were incredibly evident during our Zoom conversation with him yesterday.
So I have a thought, Jeff, about that. But now the second most dicey part of our show, the people at my dad's assisted living have asked me to turn around so no patients will be seen in the background. So
oh my God,
here we execute the turnaround move. Oh my! So far, we have executed it fairly well. And hang on, stand by. I believe now. No.
you're good.
No patients will be harmed in the making of this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Stand by.
Dude. All right.
Still rocking. Okay.
Lawsuit might do us in.
There we go. But the one thing I thought about that, Jared, when he talked about making sure those other two guys were comfortable, here's a guy who's a 10-year veteran. And we're talking about Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter, who between them don't have a third of that in Major League time. And I just thought that was so telling that he is that humble and he is that, thoughtful about the other guys, his teammates, his team.
And the detail too. The other thing, I asked him, and I don't want to say it was a throwaway question because I don't think that you're ever going to get a throwaway answer from Brandon Nimmo, which is awesome. But I asked him about, hitting lefties because he's a left-handed hitter who can hit lefties. And I think for this team, that's significant. I think it would be really tough to add a lefty who you feel like you have to platoon because you already have that with Jock Peterson. You might have that with Evan Carter, depending on philosophically how they want to deploy Evan Carter. I don't think that they would necessarily be overly pumped to start Josh Smith against every lefty, right? That might, and maybe that's a way to kind of give him natural breaks depending on what his role is. So it'd be really tough to have a fourth guy for a team that is trying to get their offense back to, where they'd like it to be, to have four guys that you sort of have to consider a platoon for. So I think that's significant in the acquisition of Brandon Nimmo. But in terms of just the commitment to the craft, I thought what he said about Todd Helton's advice, and he grew up a Rockies fan, and so he was really kind of taken by the opportunity to talk to Todd Helton, who Hall of Fame left-handed hitter who could hit lefties, and he said, "Hey, you don't just want a lefty to throw BP, you want a lefty who's going to try and get you out, right?" And that's one of the unique things I think about this sport, like Evan Carter, for instance. Evan Carter could take BP off a lefty all he wants, but that's different than a lefty who is trying to get you out based on a scouting report. A lefty who's going to throw a 91-mile-an-hour slider to try and get you out, not a 72-mile-an-hour down the middle BP fastball, right? And so I just thought, like, that level of detail that he pursued to improve that area of his game, to find a lefty who could not just throw to him, but try and get him out. I thought that was really impressive. And I think that's something that maybe some of the younger guys will be able to learn from, just the way it seems like the way he goes about getting better at things. Because a lot of guys say you just need reps, but we know that's crap. I use this example all the time with people. I could go to a basketball gym right now and shoot up, half court shots for an hour. And I spent an hour in the gym, but I didn't actually get better. I got reps, I guess, but it's the attention to detail and the way you go about it. It seems like he's got a pretty good idea of how to get from A to B in that regard.
Yeah, that was great. And then he felt good for the batting, the guy who was
he was now a hitting coach of the Mets. Yeah,
just such a nice guy. I wish we could show it all, but it would take up the whole show.
Right. Yeah. The first segment would have been the first answer. So, that's fantastic. And I'm anxious, as you guys are, to get to know him, throughout the course of spring training and then throughout the course of the year, because he really does just seem like such a good guy. And I really think, and let's talk about this when we come back. Also, when we come back, we're going to talk about Jared's event that's coming up. He's done such a great job with his Sandlot charity. So we're going to talk about that too. But I also, guys, want to talk just about the process that Brandon Nimmo has gone through to get here. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And it's time to talk about our good friends, our new friends, our favorite food friends, Wild Fork Foods. This place is unbelievable. Jeff and I had the opportunity with several of us from DLLS to go tour the place. They were kind enough to give us some food. So you know what they say, if life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And what I say is if life gives you an outside skirt steak with chimichurri sauce on it, you make steak frites. That's sort of the same thing. And that's what we did this weekend. And I'm telling you, those steak frites were phenomenal. Here's what we're trying to impress upon you. Everything is frozen at Wild Fork Foods. And guess what? Frozen is fresher than fresh. I know, it seems kind of counterintuitive. Frozen is fresher than fresh, especially when they blast freeze everything immediately after it's cut and all the juices remain within. So I'm telling you, I had their brisket in the store. I had their chimichurri steak at the store as well. It was all fantastic. And their organic grass-fed beef is at 85% pound, 85% lean, and by the pound, it's $5.60 each when you buy two or more. That's about the best deal I've seen out there. You got to go out there and check out some of them at their 9 DFW locations. Wild Fork Foods.
Yeah, and there's only one Qualis Roofing here in North Texas and in the Austin area, and they're fantastic. 700 five-star reviews, a 4.9 rating. One of the most trusted names in roofing in our area, whether it's residential or commercial. You know, we're going to be coming up on storm season, and you're going to get inundated with you know, roofers going house to house trying to give you an estimate. Forget them. It's Qualis Roofing. Just for an estimate, just scheduling them to come out and check out your roof, you're going to get a free DLS shirt. If you replace your roof with Qualis, you get to choose between a Blackstone grill or a Traeger smoker. I mean, come on. How good is that? So if you were hit by storms, don't wait. Qualis, free storm damage assessments, all this free stuff they want to give you. It isn't just good roofing. They're great at communication. You'll always know where your project stands. So call or go online to qualisgc.com, QUALIS, and get that free roof inspection. And don't forget to ask about your free grill.
Yeah, so it's the DLLS Rangers podcast. We're thrilled to have Jared Sandler on with us, and he's going to talk a lot about his charity event coming up on December the 7th, which I'm pleased and fortunate this year to be planning on being a part of. Jeff will be at the winter meetings on the 7th. So, yeah, that we hate. Jeff hates that he's missing that, but we're glad that Jeff's going to be at the winter meetings. Jared, just the weekend, the process of this weekend was just so, you know, I guess up and down, right? It was like, okay, you're pleased that the Rangers are doing the right things to try and do what at least Chris Young and Ross Fenstermaker believe is the best thing to make this team better. But as you mentioned, you're saying so long to some real favorites from 2023. And it's been a wild off-season weekend.
Yeah, and you know, I mentioned the four players, and Jacob Webb was also non-tendered, but you know, wasn't a part of that 2023 team. But you know, Bruce Bochy also is no longer a part of things. So, but that's what happens when you have 2 straight years where you've got World Series potential. At least that's what we all believe based on the roster. And why wouldn't you believe that? Because the core basically was the group that won a World Series, and not only did they fall short of that, which would be understandable. If the Rangers didn't win a World Series in either of the last 2 years, I don't think anyone would be pressing a panic button. It's that they didn't make the playoffs. And 2 years ago, they kind of were out of the playoff picture really by like mid-August, if you wanted to be generous. And this year, they made that run with the Little Rascals late, but they were really playing from behind. And so things are going to have to change. You're going to have to shuffle the deck. They have some, they still do, but they traded Marcus Semien. He was one of these guys who's getting paid a lot of money with a contract still that maybe wasn't super appealing based on the production. And so that was going to make things tricky. I still think that, while the Rangers will explore free agency to improve their team, I still don't think they're done in the trade market. I'm not talking about trading someone for cash considerations. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers still maneuvered in the trade market to try and shuffle the deck and help put this team in a position to compete in ways that maybe they weren't able to the last 2 years.
Yeah, my daughter is a big Marcus Semien fan. She took it pretty hard.
Sure.
I had a baseball card of his I gave her, and she's like, well, this is useless now. I was like, no, no, it's not. And we got an autographed bat at the Do It for Dirt event for her, and she's been showing it off kind of like a prized possession. Anyway, it is hard, but like we said earlier, you got to win. And I agree with Jared on the trade thing, especially when you look at the catcher market. I don't know that there's a catcher out there that either A, fits the Rangers' price range. I'm talking about JT Realmuto, or is the kind of hitter they seem to want to add, which is a high contact, high on base guy. Now at catcher, I think what you get offensively a lot of times is gravy, but you got to be better than Jonah was. You can't be, what was it, John? 154th out of 155 the past 2 years. Yes, you got to have some production. So you kind of, who are the teams that might have excess catching or be motivated to sell? And yeah, the Pirates, maybe the Twins with Ryan Jeffers, which I seem to like a lot for some reason. But these guys are out there. Rangers front office. I didn't have Brandon Nimmo on my radar, right? I mean, I think, John, we had speculated, oh well, hey, how about a Sonny Gray trade?
Ironically.
Yeah, and then what about maybe like a team like the Red Sox who have young players at shortstop, at second base, and maybe would want a veteran there. And so it just you never know what they're going to shake loose. They meet about it a lot, and but I would expect catcher to be a trade acquisition.
Yeah, Jared, Jeff's heard from some of his sources within the organization that's true, and I know it, like in my own personal thing, a sort of expecting the Jonah move. I'm like, man, it's got to be a catch. That's got to be almost the top priority this offseason. Is that your feeling and or what you're hearing as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a priority. I think one of the challenges is that they've got so many boxes to check. And Chris Young did a masterful job of that, just in building a bullpen from scratch last year and doing it on a budget. And so I think, and it's not a surprise that the Rangers are aggressive early, because I think when you've got a grocery list that's pretty robust, you can't really wait around. You gotta be the aggressor. But yeah, the catching piece is interesting because you can go a few different routes here, and I'm not talking about trades or free agency, but some teams don't want to invest a lot in a catcher because those guys get beat up, and they're not going to be 140 game a year type guys unless you've got like a JT Realmuto in his prime when he'd catch and DH a lot, Pudge, for instance. But there's no doubt it's an important position because the drop off can be pretty significant, right? You don't want a Martin Maldonado. Like it never made sense to me. I think that was one of the biggest farces, and it's not because he was an Astro, but you can't convince me that Martin Maldonado is one of the worst hitters in Major League Baseball over a 20-year stretch. If you look at numbers, was worth whatever value he added behind the plate, because he wasn't this amazing defensive catcher. He apparently was a good game caller, but like you just can't convince me that you need to drop down that low with a second catcher, or in his case, at times a starting catcher. So, it's a needle you got to thread. If you don't want to invest a lot, either financially or in resources in a trade, but you also don't want to be put in a position where not only is your backup a real weak point, and Andrew Kisner was an awesome guy. It just didn't work out in 2024. But that was kind of, I think, what happened with the Rangers then. Andrew Kisner was struggling. All of a sudden, the lineup, it wasn't Andrew Kisner's fault. The lineup was struggling. And so it was tough to turn to Andrew Kisner as much as I think they would like to have turned to him. And now Jonah Heim's having to catch more. And I don't think you want to do that to Kyle Higashioka. I think you want to be intentional with giving Kyle Higashioka off days. And you need a good backup to do that. Or maybe it's not a backup. Maybe it's, a number one, depending on who you acquire. So I think that's going to be a tough market to navigate, but I'm curious to see what they do. And I think they have a lot of different options like you and Jeff just mentioned.
Yeah, so I just got a text from Martin Maldonado. He said, tell Jared happy Thanksgiving. So anyway, happy Thanksgiving, Martin.
Happy Thanksgiving, Martin. I'm sure he's going to enjoy the turkey.
I thought when Jared said he's not because he's an ass, he said Stro.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to go. I thought he was going to go a different direction there.
Yeah, different.
I could have.
To that word. Yeah,
Marcus Simeon might have some thoughts about that if you guys remember their beef.
Yes.
Yeah,
true. And you posted something, Jared, about that Simi home run off of Framber, and we didn't see that out of Marcus Simeon very often, but he had a reaction after he hit that one out.
Yeah, and that was cool. The Rangers obviously didn't have a great second half that season. They were holding on for dear life, but for a team that was so even keel that night in Houston, after losing the first two games of that series, the chippiness, you felt the rivalry there, and then because it came from Marcus, hits the home run off of Fromber. He's mean mugging him around the bases, chirping. He and Martin Maldonado have some words. The bench is clear. Just seeing Marcus so fired up was, that I think that meant a little something. I think that was it certainly stood out to all of us, and I think it was felt in that dugout and in that clubhouse when you got a guy like Marcus who is so even keel, kind of breaking off of that and reacting the way he did.
And in fact, Jeff and I talked a little bit about this yesterday, Jared, but it by all appearances. Not necessarily mean mugging. It sounds like he's the nicest guy in the world, but Brandon Nimmo brings that energy. Like his naturally good player self is super energetic, and it has an effect on guys in the clubhouse, in the dugout, and on the field.
Yeah, I don't think you could exist with 26 Brandon Nimmos.
Right.
But that's the beauty of it, right? It's you also can't exist with 26 of any similar type of person. And I bring that up, Rads, because I don't think this team has a Brandon Nimmo, right? Like and you can have multiple, right? It's not like you can only have one. But like Brandon Nimmo, from everything I've heard and reading between the lines from our Zoom conversation with him yesterday, he kind of gave off some Hunter Pence vibes in a way.
Sure.
But he's got the type of upbeat personality that's energetic, infectious, that we kind of talked about with the Little Rascals and why their presence was maybe beneficial last year. Because let's be honest, the Rangers, the core of their leadership group, the core of the group of players who you're relying on for production, they, last year's group, I mean, I don't want to say lacking in personality. That's not fair, but just lower energy, even keel guys. And I think in certain environments, that's great. And it certainly was great in 2023. I don't know that it was great in 24 and 25. And what also it gets forgotten about is in 23, you had Brad Miller, you had Travis Jankowski. You ended up getting Austin Hedges. You had Mitch Garver. You had guys who I think really contributed to the leadership and the chemistry part of things that were gone in 25 and most of them in 24 as well. So Brandon Nimmo, I don't think he's going to, be the foremost leader. I don't know. Maybe he will. I'm not sure. I just think having that sort of energy and that sort of attitude is very much something that this team needs in addition to whatever baseball characteristics and qualities that, the front office is going to be looking for.
No, I think you nailed it there. Because we remember like when there are the emotional outbursts, like the Simeon homer, the Seager homers in the postseason, it's like they stand out because there aren't a lot of them, And this year against the Cleveland, when Wyatt led off with a double and slid into second, immediately went motion to the dugout and was fired up, and then boom, the Rangers win the game. Those things are missing. I think Wyatt's got a chance to be a fiery kind of guy.
And Jeff, I wonder too, and this is not a knock on Marcus, but when you're Wyatt Langford and you've got a veteran like Marcus Simeon, you're kind of falling in line. I wonder if Marcus getting traded, and again, just want to underscore, this is not a, well, Marcus was an issue type situation. I just think now that Marcus is gone, if that opens up, an avenue for young guys or a young guy like Wyatt Langford to take a little bit more control in that regard.
No. Yeah, I think it does, because you've got two guys, your two leaders, Corey Seager and Marcus Simeon, who are maybe the two most, even keel, we do things the same way every day kind of guys. And so the young guys, all they do is look at their veterans and go, okay, I see how I'm supposed to act. This almost gives them permission, Jeff, the young guys. This will give them permission to follow the lead of a veteran down a slightly different path.
Yeah, and there are some guys who are just naturally like that. Cody Freeman seems to be a guy who,
yes,
you wish him a good day and he gives you a high five. He just seems like he's the kind of guy that's going to do that regardless. But you want to see it from your guys, your 600 at bat guys, or your best players. And Brandon Nimmo is now one of the Rangers' best players.
Yeah,
and so it seems like he's going to provide that. And I think it's going to come out of Wyatt.
Yeah, I do too. All right, so more coming up. We want to get to Jared about his event coming up in December. Also about his new role with RSN. It was fun watching him all year long. So we'll talk about those topics and more as we continue with Jared Sandler. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast, and we want you to be one of our most ardent supporters. And the way to do that is to simply give us $5 or $15, and then you get access to all the things that you see there, the true sicko level stuff that's available to those people, those members of the Supporters Club. Pretty low price point to be a part of something that's pretty special, and I think getting more and more special every day as we continue to grow at DLLS. There's those emojis available to you, and then of course all the behind the scenes content that we are able to pump out for you. One of the different beats does one every week. As we mentioned last week, Jeff and I are going to be due. I think it might be next week, and God knows we'll have a lot to talk about. So, wait for that one. Watch that one. We appreciate you watching the others that we've done, but become a member of our Supporters Club today and enjoy all the benefits therein.
Yeah, and we're showing you the Black Friday stuff. That's interesting because today Ali's newsletter was topped by all of our Black Friday information that you need to know. Early access is up for diehards only. The rest of you folks have to wait until Friday, but why wait? I mean, I didn't wait yesterday. I went ahead and bought yet another sweatshirt, and it was like ridiculously cheap. So, and it's a good item. I can speak to that. The newsletter, another good item. Ali had one in your inbox today, leading with the Mavs, who need to figure out how to close games out. They were at Miami, where it's not necessarily easy to win, but nevertheless, they had a chance. Then he mentioned the Cowboys, which is who he helps Clarence Hill cover. And then, the Rangers news. So we're talking all kinds of things, and then he'll sneak in a little fun thing like he did making fun of Skip Bayless, which is pretty easy to do. Anyway, all you have to do is go to our homepage, go to the bottom, enter your email address in the little box, hit submit, and boom, it's in your email. Multiple days a week, so do that.
Yeah, that's it. Every day. It's a fantastic thing, and it's free, completely free. And Jeff's sweatshirt, I think, was darn near free. Some of the stuff on that sale is 90% off. So make sure you avail yourself to that. Did you get the one with the Nuxie or whatever the guys know?
I got I think they called it the collegiate sweatshirt.
Okay, good.
And I like it.
Yeah, you're very collegiate. You're the brains of this.
It's already packaged and shipping. I just bought it.
Wow.
How about that?
Yeah. You're the brains of the operation. I'm the personality hire. So that's good. Jared, you've got the big event coming up in December at Globe Life Field. And I don't even know how long you've had it there at the ballpark. I haven't been able to be at the last few. Last time I was able to attend, you were at Top Golf way back whenever that was. But what is this, 10 years, Jared, that you've been doing the event?
Almost. This is our 9th, so we got to figure out a big 10-year bash. But it's 9 years in total. This is our 3rd year at the ballpark. December 7th. So we're sold out of tables, but we still have individual tickets that are up for grabs. Their adult tickets are also kid tickets, because kids aren't going to participate in the alcohol portion of it, so we don't need to charge as much for the kids to get in the door. At least, hopefully they're not participating in that. We certainly are not advocating or allowing it, but it's a lot of fun. And there's really not a big difference between tables or individual tickets. There are going to be tables where you can put stuff down or sit down to eat. It's not like you're going to be forced to stand the entire time, and you get the same opportunity to participate in the events and activities that make the event what it is, which is it's essentially like an adult field day. And it's, I talk about the kids element because Topgolf was really more of an adult event. And one of the things we wanted to do when we moved to the ballpark was provide an event that accomplished two things that Topgolf maybe didn't accomplish as much. And that's one, highlight the people we're serving, people with disabilities, and put together an event that shows off what a lot of these boys and girls and men and women are capable of doing by, giving them opportunities to participate in some of the games and activities, and highlighting some of the organizations that put together the programming that we support that gives these kids and adults the opportunity to participate. And then we also wanted an event that didn't discriminate, between age, gender, any of that stuff. Right. So, I'll look around and we'll see little kids having the time of their life. And then I'll look to the other direction and see adults who are like kids, playing on a major league field. And that's the neat thing, is that it's on the field itself. So it's not just at the ballpark, it's on the field itself. And it's a field day with all sorts of different games and activities, not just the baseball events. Although we do have a wiffle ball home run derby, and you can play catch on a major league field, but we soccer, basketball, pickleball, tennis, bar games. We have an adult size pong, ping pong, shuffle. I mean, it's just like all sorts of different games and activities. And so I think it's a lot of fun. We'll also have some celebrities there, like Rads. Jake Berger is the winner of our community award this year. We now for a fourth year have recognized an athlete in the DFW community that gives back to the community. And there really hasn't been anyone who's more of a perfect fit for Sandlot than Jake Berger, given the alignment and everything that he and his wife are doing through the Berger Family Foundation, supporting the Down syndrome community. So Jake will be there. We'll have a number of other Rangers players. Drew Pearson, Hall of Famer, will be there. I think, one of my partners in crime on the broadcast, Elvis Andrews, will be there, along with Dave Raymond and Emily Jones and Matt Hicks and Mike Bassick. So we'll have all sorts of different folks out there, and hopefully people want to come out. It's December 7th, thesandlot.org/events to get you right there. Or you can just check my social media feed. I've got links posted all over. And no Cowboys game that day, so you don't have to worry about missing the Cowboys. And we will have football on TVs in certain sections. So if you fantasy implications, or maybe you're not a Cowboys fan, chances are you'll be able to watch your favorite team or favorite players play.
Hey, Jared, what's your link to the people that you are trying to serve here? How did you get involved in that?
Yeah, I know like direct obvious link, no family member or anything that, I grew up with who served as an inspiration in that regard. I'll try. I know I can ramble. I'll try to be as to the point as possible. But I used to go to brunch every once in a while on Saturdays with my dad and some of his friends at a place called Gilbert's in Dallas. And so sometimes, the sons, the grandsons for some of them would come along. And there was a young boy by the name of Taylor who had Down syndrome, who was the grandson of one of the guys in the group. And he would come along sometimes. And Taylor was the first person I'd ever met with, that I was aware of, and was old enough to understand he had a disability. And I learned about Down syndrome. And it just always occurred to me that Taylor was always happy. It was just so much fun to be around. I was like, I want to be around more people like Taylor. And, I got to the point where it would start to volunteer, start to really take more of a focus and interest in the disability community and some of the different physical and intellectual disabilities that serve as challenges to people around the world. And so it just kind of started that way. It snowballed. And it's an infectious group to be around because these are some of the most resilient, positive, determined and strong people that I've ever met. And, it's made our involvement with that community for the charity so much fun, because, any opportunity to be around any of these organizations that support these people or just the people themselves is so much fun.
Yeah, all the charities, really. I mean, there's so many great charities out there, but I'm with you, Jared. When I was still in college, I got involved in Special Olympics, and where you see a lot of those same super happy kids who are just so excited just to compete, right? And then Miracle League became a big one when it came to Texas, and so I'm 100% with you. Those are great. It's a noble cause.
And I appreciate that, Rads. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, Eric Nadell's annual charity event and Do It for Durrett, kind of served as examples and inspirations that, like, hey, look at these people I'm around doing what they're doing. And Jeff, I remember, I feel like I was there kind of from the start, unfortunately, with, the creation of Do It for Durrett. And seeing what you guys have done has been really, really special, and I think served as motivation for me to get off my ass and do something, and just inspiration, that, hey, like, look at what can be done, right? We're not Dirk, Luka, Dak, Corey Seager. We don't have that sort of a platform, but that doesn't mean we don't have an opportunity or a path to make a difference. So I appreciate, everything you guys have done. And Rads, you've always been so involved in the community and community efforts. And, what you guys have done is, really something that I always took note of and very much appreciate.
Well, thanks, Jared. And I think a lot of that goes to the Rangers community, not just the employees of the club and things like that, but just the fans. It's familiar faces. It's year in, year out. We didn't think Do It for Dirt would last more than 1 year, and it has the momentum where we just had our 11th event. And I'm guessing you're I remember one of your first events was at a brewery, and now you're at the damn ballpark, and it's just great to see that we're able to help, and that it's the community that is out there and supports us, and I mean blows us away with how much money they're willing to donate every year, and we can't be more appreciative than that, than what they've provided.
Yeah, it's so great, and we're proud of you, Jared, because you were a darn young man at the time that you started this thing. And look at T.O. We appreciate our guy, sports guy T.O., giving a $25 super chat and asking if you could talk about how much influence, and I know the answer to this, T.O.'s going to love it, how much influence Matt, and I know in this case particularly Eric, have had on you. I hear Nadell's cadence in a lot of your delivery. Please take that as a compliment. The Rangers' future in the booth is in great hands. I agree with that too. Jared, take it away on T.O.'s generous super chat.
Yeah, no, that's very kind, Rads. I mean, I grew up listening to Eric, so I think that's a part of why, my understanding of broadcasting very much, came from listening to Eric. And I didn't even realize, that I was developing this understanding because, at that time, I don't know that this was something I envisioned doing. But yeah, I mean, I think with Eric and Matt, I guess I'll give, a couple quick examples as opposed to just simply saying, that, they have had a huge influence. But with Eric, it's, a constant desire to get better, even at his age and everything he's accomplished, he could just kind of coast, but he's always, we're talking about, hey, did you hear the way this was called by this broadcaster, earlier today? And that phraseology was really interesting. And, he just has this curiosity and this hunger to learn and get better. And, I think with Matt, one of the things that, he's helped reinforce is I think Matt is amazing at being Matt. And he doesn't try to be someone he's not on air. And, Matt is a lovable dork, but that's who he is on air. And that's a part. No, but like that is right. You'll hear him kind of go through. He does a little research project, but that's Matt. And he does about as good of a job as anyone. If you listen to a Rangers game and then meet the person behind the microphone. Like that one-to-one conversion, like Matt nails that. And I think that's really important. And I think Matt is one of the brightest people I think I've met, just so well read. And that shows in his creativity in a lot of his calls, and how he's able to think on the spot with big moments to tag a certain highlight. And that's something that like I admire and wish I had that ability that he has to do that, snap of a finger. He is so talented, and I'm really fortunate to get to work with both of them and get to learn from both of them.
Yeah, you've learned your lessons well, and I know you can, as we all know, we can continue to learn. And I do remember when I was trying the play-by-play craft, that's what Eric told me. Every day, listen to the other guys who do this, right? On the way to work, on the way home, listen to other radio broadcasts, and it'll help you, sort of pick up those phrases. And it's an amazing thing. I mean, he's been doing it probably ever since he could. And it's really helped craft what we all appreciate in him, a Hall of Fame announcer. So really cool, and we're glad to share all of this with you, Jared, and all of this with our normal chatters and our normal viewers. We appreciate all of you. Next, it's the cleanup segment. Let's talk about some topics around the game of baseball next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And we mentioned the Die Hard exclusive merch sale that's already underway. If you're a Die Hard, you can already get those great deals on all that merchandise. And there's some of the examples of that. You can save up to 90% on various things that we have for sale at the merch store, alldlls.com, store.allcitynetwork.com, I should say. And Jeff will talk more about that part of it in a moment. But if you're a Die Hard, you're already saving like this. You're also getting all that behind the paywall stuff that Jeff writes, that our Cowboys guys who Jeff mentioned writes, that Sam Nestler from the Stars has been very busy, and they've been doing quite well to start the season off. And then the only one busier than that, of course, has been our new guy Ron Harad, who's trying to figure out what the heck's going on with the Mavs. So as are so many other people. But anyway, it's all there, and it's all for you, and it's all cheap. There's a sale on right now. There's an even better one coming. So, anyway, keep those things in mind and become a diehard today.
Yeah, John mentioned store.allcitynetwork.com. That's where you get your free shirt when you become a diehard. And Kat, if that graphic can pop up again, I can show you exactly which sweatshirt I got. I got the gray one there to the left of the
Oh, I like that.
90%. Yeah. It was already on sale. And then I got Black Friday on top of it. So
wow,
there's a lot of good stuff out there for you guys. But as John and I talk about every show, we have tons of this stuff. Right now, I think I see on the shirt on the screen 5 things that I have in my collection. I really like that Mavs shirt down in the lower right hand corner. But it's all there. It's all on sale. And again, if you're not a diehard, you got to wait a few days before you can take advantage. But if you're diehard, do it now. Store.allcitynetwork.com.
Jared, I know you came in studio last year. Did we give you a shirt last year?
He was on Zoom. We already.
Oh, was he Zoom last year too?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
We got to get you. Maybe we'll just have to haul off and bring you one of these days at the ballpark. But you need some merch.
I'd love to rock that. Yeah, because of past transgressions, my passport doesn't allow me entry into the DLLS
studio.
Right
yeah, no, I know.
That's another 3 years, and then
is it 3 more?
Really cracking down under this administration. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still the restraining order too. Yeah, so that's fine. We'll get that worked out. So heck, I forgot what we were. Oh, I know. We're going to talk about this Sonny Gray trade to start off our cleanup segment. And Jeff, it's one that I think you mentioned at the top of this show that you had kind of advocated for a similar money swap kind of deal with Marcus Semien, and then the Rangers get a guy like him. As it turns out, he is going to go to the Red Sox, and he is going for a top left-handed pitcher prospect and another pitcher, and $20 million that the Red Sox will get to help offset the cost of his contract. So other teams were thinking kind of like you were, Jeff.
Yeah, and I want, the Rangers would have wanted to trade Semien. So, how would they have made that work? Would it have worked? It looked like at eating 20 million, the Cardinals were motivated just to get rid of the contract, but also they paid a little extra for, the prospect, and then Richard Fitz, who, as memory serves, the fourth game of the last season made it really tough on the Rangers. Of course, you could say that about a lot of guys, but I think old Dick Fitz has some good pitchability in him, and so that's a big trade. It puts the Red Sox. They spent about $21 million on Lucas Giolito on Walker Buehler last year, and that didn't go real well. So it seems like it's just I don't want to say a straight up swap, but it kind of feels like, they're filling the same need for about the same price and probably have a better pitcher to do it. Now Sonny's old. It's a 1-year deal. He's going to make $41 million this year because there's the buyout on his contract. Plus he got $1 million for waiving his no trade clause. So
wow.
he's getting $41 million this year. Theoretically, I can't. Maybe the Red Sox want to re-sign him or extend him and not worry about the buyout. But man, it's a nice little payday coming for Sonny Gray.
Jared, thoughts on that deal?
I just think, these no trade clauses are a great moneymaker because 90% of the time they don't get exercised. They waive them, and usually there's some sort of compensation that comes with it. So that's that's not a bad addition by agents in these contracts. But I think it's interesting. I think Chaim Bloom's now going to get a chance to put his stamp on the Cardinals after serving in an advisory role. It's clear they want to go in the direction of the rebuild, and they'll be able to do that. I know some people thought that, and I think they still believe that the Red Sox are going to trade from their logjam of outfielders, and some people I know have even tied like Jaron Duran to the Rangers. I don't think that would happen at this point unless there's another kind of significant shakeup. But the Red Sox are that's not a patient fan base,
No.
and last year, the Blue Jays were inches away from a World Series, and the year before that, the Yankees were in the World Series, and we're the Red Sox, right? So I imagine that they're gonna remain aggressive. They're not a team that typically rebuilds. And when you got Alex Cora, I don't know that he's in any sort of a desire to rebuild. And I obviously with their pitching, their bullpen kind of caused a lot of problems last year. The health of their rotation, Sonny Gray will help address one directly, the other indirectly. But with the Cardinals, and I don't like the Cardinals, but I think Chaim Bloom, who I do think actually did a good job with the Red Sox, maybe didn't get a chance to really see it through, is now in the beginning stages of really trying to lay the pavement down for the Cardinals in a rebuild.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of the Yankees, Hal Steinbrenner, very, very polar opposite of his dad. He really does not speak much to the media, but recently did. And Jared, he cried poor. He said, it's unfair for people to assume that the Yankees are profitable. Come on, Hal. What, are you kidding me?
You guys have been in this longer than I have, and you guys are both smarter than I am, so you probably understand the accounting purpose or side of this. And, I'm sure you can move numbers to make this look like it's operating at a deficit and not, turning a profit. But here's the deal. Hal, is the value of the Yankees organization going up or down? Because
right.
It's certainly not going down. You're doing just fine. There are ways to make it work. And, you buy a sports team, probably, there's a long play. If you do want to sell it, the value of the organizations typically go up. They don't go down, right? That's just the way things go these days. And thankfully so. But beyond that, I just wish that, I don't agree with everything Mark Cuban does, but Mark Cuban bought the Mavericks because that was a passion of his, and you felt that. And I think the fan base felt that. And he wanted to invest in the team and in the organization. And there's just too many owners in baseball, it seems like. And I'm not saying Hal Steinbrenner is one of them, because the Yankees do spend. there are too many owners who just look at this like a private equity firm, like total black and white. Is this profitable? Is it not? How can, as opposed to like investing in the team to win? And, I know people have been critical of the Rangers' desire to shed payroll. Let's not act like the Rangers or the Athletics or the Guardians. They did spend a lot, and they did help bring the ownership did help bring a World Series. They want to go beneath the luxury tax for a year, and then we'll see what happens after that. But some of these organizations that act like, oh, we're not making any money and blah blah, that's a big farce. And 50 million people watch the World Series. Every team in Major League Baseball benefits from that. You guys are doing just fine. Spend money, try and win. That's how it should be.
Yeah, I wonder if Hal feels the heat from down the road in Flushing and Steve Cohen, who does spend even beyond his means. But even then, in 23, he scaled way the heck back. He saw the bad money element of it and tried to get rid of all of it with Verlander and Scherzer and whatnot. But yeah, come on, man, don't play that. Don't play that.
Yeah, don't play the poor sympathy card with us. The MVP of the 2023 WBC has agreed to play in the 2026 WBC, and he wins back-to-back MVPs pretty much everywhere he goes. So I assume Shohei Ohtani will be the MVP of the 2026 WBC. Jeff?
Oh, no, the United States is going to take down
Nice.
Japan. Yeah.
Nice.
Out. But yeah, I love that he still wants to play in this event.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's great. It's cool that Aaron Judge is playing for our side. That the big stars are going to play for their countries. I think that's fantastic. I love this event. I really do. I wish there was a way they could do it in the middle of the season. That would be a lot of fun, like NHL stopping down when it's World Cup time. I'd like to see the Rangers or MLB figure that out, but you have to have the postseason done by a certain window so as not to affect the NFL and to make sure all the owners get their money and all of that stuff. So, and I don't want to start the regular season in March 1st. I don't want to start it on March 26th, for crying out loud, but that's where we're at.
No, I agree. I agree with everything Jeff said. I wish it's an imperfect event for a variety of reasons, but it's a lot of fun. And I thought it was so cool, that you had the Ohtani versus Trout showdown in 23. And I'm glad I thought, I don't know if this is true or not, because I don't, if you just glance at a tweet, is it AI generated? Is it real? I thought I'd seen something where the Dodgers were reluctant to give or reluctant to allow Yamamoto or Ohtani to participate. And if they did, they'd ask that Team Japan put a lot of restrictions on their usage. I don't know if that was true or not, but I'm glad to see Ohtani participate. And I hope what Yamamoto does, if he hasn't announced that already, especially building off of the World Series and all the popularity, having him in the WBC, even if he just throws 3 innings, I think is helpful in growing the sport. And maybe the U.S. can finally grab one of these.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It's our game. Dang it. We need to win that thing. So we'll work on that. That comes in the later part of the spring. And Jared, we appreciate you joining us so much. One more time, in case people want to be a part of your event coming up on December 7th.
Yeah, the sandlot.org/events at Globe Life Field. Doors open at 4:30, and we got all sorts of games and activities, food, drinks, celebrities, and it ends up being a great time. People just kind of hang out, have fun. You can be as active or inactive as you want. It's not like a forced. You show up and you got to compete in the decathlon. You pick and choose what you want to do. And again, no Cowboys games, so you don't need to worry about that. And it's great for kids, great for adults. You don't need to worry about getting childcare if you want to come out and support. And if you need to wear out your kids for a few hours so they sleep a little bit easier on that Sunday night, I think we got a great event to allow you to do that. So again, the sandlot.org/events, or any of my social media feeds, the link is pretty present there.
Go ahead, Jeff. Yeah,
I'd love to see a steeplechase course out there on the field. Yeah, part of the decathlon. Let's get knocked out.
I will tell you this. Jeff, we try and change it up and have some new wrinkles every year. I will tell you, there was something that Elvis and I did this year that got a lot of attention that might be a part of the festivities that day for a select few participants. So steeplechase is not a part of it, but you could do the steeplechase while being a part of this thing. That
I have an idea where you're going with.
Yeah, I think I see where you're headed.
No gambling.
No
gambling on this.
No wagering, please.
No gambling. No wagering. That's right.
Yeah, no wagering, please. And it's certain that there's a chance I blow out a hamstring or an Achilles that day. So that's perfect. Yeah. All right, Jared, man, so much fun. I hate that we didn't even get to talk about Elvis with you, but we'll do that another time because I think it's been really fun to watch him transition into being a broadcaster as well. So anyway. Yeah. Jared, thanks so much, man. We appreciate it, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the event on the 7th. That's going to do it for us. We appreciate all of you hanging out with us, too, and we will see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock, for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.